And then the final against Medvedev, it was really a match. I mean, most tennis matches are, but like a lot of different phases throughout the match. And so much of that phase felt like neck and neck, tight, tense tennis. But when the dust cleared, it was a three straight sets victory for Djokovic, and one that I've seen a lot of people around the tour commenting that it leads the tour a little boring for them right now, with Djokovic having won 3 of 4 slams and appeared in the final of all 4. So let's talk a little about the match. Like I said, kind of 3 phases to this one. And the first was a slow start for Medvedev. He had a half chance on Djokovic's service game, but wasn't able to get too much into it. And then on his own, had a double fault, an error, and gave Djokovic half the leg up. Only made one first serve on that game. It was clear what he wanted to do. He wanted to bring out his defensive brand of tennis out, stand behind the baseline, and just dare Djokovic to go for the winner. And especially early, because it was quite a physical match and they both gassed not too long in. But that early first set, even when Medvedev wasn't quite on his game and was building up to a little low, it was just like such tense tennis, because you often see one defensive specialist playing someone else and daring them to go for it. And the passing shots will still be there somewhat. But when it's defense versus defense, and neither guy wants to put the energy into well and truly ripping it, because they know there's just such a low chance they actually get it by the other guy. And chances are the defensive specialist on the other end is just going to return it deep and give you almost no advantage to play on that ball. It becomes kind of a waste of energy to rip it unless you're almost certain you've got the one-shot kill lined up. So just a lot of tentative chess match rallying, like a battle of nerves, who shakes first. And in the early game, Medvedev did enough to give Djokovic a break. And Djokovic was able to front run that. The rest of the set was tense. It was tight. Medvedev stepped up that level and didn't really get into trouble again on his service game. Didn't conjure up any break points on Djokovic's serve. So even if it wasn't a smooth, easy hold and there were some tense moments in that first set, it went pretty cleanly and clearly to Djokovic. And the second set looking much the same from the start. Medvedev goes to deuce every time on his serve. I think Djokovic puts something like 15 points in a row straight on his own serve. And then midway through that second set, Medvedev makes a tricky hold, has to fight off some break points. And then suddenly Djokovic's first serve slows way down and Medvedev really starts getting into the games. He's able to get one break point, doesn't get it, but keeps like just barreling through his service games, really pushing, testing Djokovic. Where it gets rougher for him is he does conjure up one more breakup point at 6-5, or yeah, I believe it was 6-5. So a set point, and just doesn't do enough with it. Like I think that's the one where he kind of came to the net and just like didn't, like, not a smash, but volleyed it straight to Djokovic and gave him a surprisingly hittable passing shot. So they go to a tiebreak. Medvedev gets a mini break. Djokovic plays well to get it back. And I didn't mention, but like the other big turning point in the middle of that second set was Djokovic gassed. There was one point where he was running up and down. I mean, there were so many 20-plus shot rallies. Like, it was just a constant. It wasn't really even a remarkable turn of events when it happened. And after one of those rallies, Djokovic lay down and you could see his chest just pumping up and down. We've seen many times him in that situation, and he does always recover. So that early on, it didn't feel like the match was over. It was more, how much of an advantage can Medvedev grab while Djokovic is down and outs like this? And can he turn the momentum completely and make Djokovic come from behind by the time he gets his fitness back? So that was the real opportunity for him in the second, combined with the poor serving of Djokovic, which was certainly related, I'd say. And in the end, he couldn't. Djokovic able to fight back in that tie break, get a mini break, up of his own, or no, he didn't get a mini break, but just making Medvedev serve to stay in the tie break, and a backhand he had been hitting all match goes into the net 3-4 shots into the rally. First, I thought his nerves choked. Then in the changeover, you see them furiously massaging his left shoulder. And I don't know if you know anything about the backhand of Medvedev, but it's even weirder than my left-handed shot in that he puts like a good hand of space between his left and his right hand. So it's really his left arm doing a lot of the work with his right arm going. So seeing him massaging that left shoulder, it begs the question, like, how is he going to hit his backhand, which is his best shot for the rest of the match? It's one of my favorite things about Djokovic, though. Like he looks hurt, he looks wounded, he looks mortal. Guys on the other side of the net, like the stars light up in their eyes. And then they still, like, it should be easy, but it's not easy. Even if Djokovic looks down and out, they're still fighting so hard for points. And somewhere along the way in that process where they're fighting, where they think they have an injured opponent on the other side, they find themselves more injured and more out of it and more in trouble. And I think that's more or less what happened. Because in the third set, you saw the backhand break down a little more, also down 2-0 against the greatest player of all time. It must be impossible to psych yourself up and truly believe you still have a chance at winning the match. So it wasn't too much of a shock to see Medvedev's serve break down. He did break back, but Djokovic broke right back again. And the match point kind of said it all. Like Medvedev abandoned that style that he'd been playing most of the match defensively, just started swinging for the fences. And third or fourth try hits the net. So it felt incredibly tense. My friend and I watching were nervous, we're on edge, we're reacting quite physically to a lot of those intense, crazy rallies, which I really enjoyed. But when it's all said and done, it did feel like Djokovic just blew through a player in his prime who's the best of his generation, and did so without much difficulty in a US Open where, other than one match where he went down the first 2 sets, he won every other match he played in straight sets. You look around at the draw, you look Tsitsipas, Ruud, Rune, all top 10 players who lost in the first round. And like the Djokovic Alcaraz rivalry was kind of masking, maybe. The hype for that was masking that, like, a lack of other contenders. I'm not sure. So I know a lot of people disappointed. I think a lot of top seeds did perform poorly. Fritz has never won a match against Djokovic in his life, so the only top 10 player Djokovic has to play on his way to the final. Shelton obviously wasn't going to pose a risk. I found it interesting and exciting, a tense match. I'm so in awe watching the history being made. And like Medvedev said in the aftermatch interview, like, it's such a bittersweet emotion towards Djokovic and Nadal for him. Like, they've pushed him to play better, but also that was his 5th Grand Slam final, and he's only won 1 because of those 2 players. And you just wonder if his time will be able to come, because 27, like, these are supposed to be the years he's playing the best tennis. And I think it was a match where if he had played 2 points differently, 1 point differently in that second set, if he had hit that volley away cross from Djokovic instead of down the line to him, it goes 1-1. Maybe Djokovic is more winded. Maybe Medvedev has more belief. Maybe it's still a blowout the next 2 sets for Djokovic because of that shoulder. I'm not sure. I know I loved the t-shirt. I'm among the people wondering if the all-white jackets the Djokovic team pulled out were left over from Wimbledon. And I'm just wondering how many more. Australia coming up back next, his best slam. I really hope we see Nadal back on the tour next year. I think that will help allay some of the stuff, not to mention Nadal-Alcaraz matches. I think we still need a couple more of those before Rafa hangs them up. So I'm excited for the men's tour. I find it still Obviously, very enjoyable. But yeah, maybe not the high quality quarters and semis and path for Djokovic in particular that people would have hoped for going in.
It's a phenomenal performance nonetheless, and a fantastic week for the country of Serbia.